Chad Aiken coming to you from the Aiken Research Group. It is Saturday, January 30th, 2016. Well, today we want to specifically talk about, are you diversified in your assets and investments by currency? We want to talk about how to do it, why it's important, and what is at risk if you don't diversify your investments and assets by currency, and the action plan as to how to do it. So let's get started today. Now, in front of me I have examples again, because of the demonstration, especially with currencies, that the demonstration of marbles and different colored marbles, I think it helps individuals and average Americans to be able to understand currencies a little bit better. Now, on my website, the Aiken Research or aikenresearch.com, we have a video where a 60 Minutes commentator is interviewing Alan Greenspan. And she asks Alan Greenspan, if you were to be paid in any currency, what currency would you want to be paid in for your book advance? So Alan Greenspan was writing a book then, and he was getting an advancement for the book. I think it was $6 million. So she asks him, what currency would you want to be paid in? So in a sense, let's just assume this bowl is $6 million. Well, Alan Greenspan answers the question by saying he doesn't care what color, in this case, the green marbles are dollars. He doesn't care what color he gets paid in because, well, he doesn't say this, but ultimately the question is posed to him that he's getting paid in a lump sum, because his answer is that he will diversify the green marbles any way he wants in the currency market. So for him, it doesn't matter whether it's dinars or yuan or it doesn't matter what it is. But you see, the real question would have been, a better question to Alan Greenspan would have been, if you were going to be paid for your book deal over a 10-year time period, let's just say with maybe $500,000 a year, what currency would you then want to be paid in? Now, he wouldn't have answered that question, but the answer, it would have been a better question to answer because it's more appropriate for Americans today, and it's more appropriate especially for retirees. And let's go through a little bit of a demonstration to show you why it's important, not only for current Americans, but also retirees. The tip now in front of us, again, we have these bowl full of green marbles, which represent dollars. For the typical retiree, most of them have a Social Security, and if they're married with a spouse, sometimes they have two Social Securities. They may have a pension from work, and they may also have a disability payment. Maybe it's a military pension, as well as maybe it's an annuity that they have invested in and purchased. Now, all of these items, Social Security, pensions, annuities, military pensions, disability, what do they all have in common? They all have in common that Americans are owed dollars. You see, if the total amount on average that Social Security should be paying you, let's assume that's $300,000 or $400,000 over the next 20 or 30 years after you retire, you don't have the choice to be able to take that into a lump sum of 300,000 green marbles, so that in the Alan Greenspan example, you can diversify it. Over here, we have different investments denominated in different types of currencies. You see how colorful this ball is? You don't have the option of taking your 300,000 green dollars or green marbles, dollars, and converting it into all different types of investments. You're only owed dollars. And that goes for your pensions, your annuities, the whole way down the line again. So what ends up happening is, in this case, your Social Security, what's owed to you, every week or month, you get paid Social Security, so they give you one green marble, or let's say that's $1,000 a month. Your pension would be the same way, right? They pay you once a month, $1,000 into your income. So what is the big deal? Why is this a risk or why is it a problem? Well, being owed green marbles or dollars is a problem because of Uncle Sam. You got Uncle Sam, the Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and Congress all have control of dollars. And they have control of dollars in a way that they can dilute the amount that's owed to you by printing dollars, which we've all been hearing about, which is QE. That's the printing of dollars. And through inflation. So if 10 years ago you were getting a fixed payment of dollars, and let's assume that that was $1,000 a month, well, now let's assume 10 years ago that $1,000 a month could buy you 1,000 widgets. Well, today, when you're paid that $1,000 in a month, right, from Social Security, you still can't buy 1,000 widgets with that $1,000, even with a little bit of an increase that we understand that sometimes Social Security gets. The bigger picture is inflation created by the Federal Reserve and the borrowing and spending of Congress dilutes your purchasing power from these fixed investments of dollars only. Of dollars only. Now, the same holds true whether you're getting a pension payment, an annuity payment, or any other type of payment. Now, this bull here would be for those of you that have a small business. Those of you that have a small business in America, you're actually swimming in dollars as well, because all of the revenue or all of the sales or all of the payments that are made to you are all in dollars, which is obvious, right? I mean, because when you, at the end of the night, if you own a retail store and you count your register, you don't accept anything else other than dollars. So if you do $10,000 in a day for your retail store, you're going to have 10,000 marbles, or green marbles in our example. You don't have Canadians coming in giving you Canadian dollars, or Chinese or Asians coming in with renminbi or yuan giving you that, so that you can already be diversified. You're dealing in green marbles, not only with Social Security and your pensions, not only with annuities, not only with military pensions, you're even dealing in green marbles in your business. And we already know what this is, right? These are your investments. We'll get to that in a second. So for as skeptical as Americans are with the low approval rating of Congress, this administration, and the Federal Reserve, they control all of the green marbles. So in reality, for as much skepticism that Americans have, if they take an inventory of what they're owed, what their business deals in, and what their investments are in, it's basically all green marbles. So that their skepticism doesn't equal what their assets and investments are denominated in. Now, Warren Buffett has an interesting concept concerning people that own small businesses. And when Warren Buffett invests, he's looking for a company that has a durable competitive advantage. Now, it sounds like a big word. So what does durable competitive advantage mean? Well, it means that in a particular industry, and you don't have to be a public stock for this to apply. It could be whatever business and industry that you're currently in yourself. That do you have a competitive advantage over the others in the business? And is that competitive advantage durable in different business environments, or the market environments of the roller coaster ride, right? In the economy. Can your business survive when the economy is doing well as when the economy is doing poorly? Now, with the Federal Reserve creating the booms and busts lately in the last 15 years, this is very appropriate as to Warren Buffett's thinking of he wants to invest in a company that will do well in good times, and in bad times, that particular company is going to do the best compared to the other companies that are within that industry. So let's apply that to you within the business world. Well, Warren Buffett also quotes by saying that your small business is only as durable in your income or your sales of that small business as your customers' income is durable. So what does that mean? Well, that really means that as part of your business being durable to make it through the good times and bad times, you need to have customers that their income and their industry of what they're in is durable enough, right? They need to be able to pay you. So in looking at your small business, you want to take an inventory of your customers. Are they going to be able to withstand and pay you through the roller coaster ride in this economy? That's what Warren Buffett is talking about. So this jar, this bowl, which is a large bowl, right? This would be all of your stock investments or your assets. So your home, and any other types of assets that you have. And obviously, because we live in America, we play in the dollar sandbox, right? So most of your stock investments are denominated in dollars, and we'll explain what that exactly means a little bit later. Your home is in America, right? So it's denominated in dollars. Now, some foreigners or dual citizens that are here in America, they may have homes, physical homes, that are outside the country. Well, that physical home, if it's in Mexico or Canada, would not be in green marbles. So if you have $1 million net worth, that once you would have that home in Mexico or Canada, let's assume it's worth $100,000. Well, now you would take out 10% of these green marbles, right? And they would turn into, let's say, in Canada, blue marbles. So your assets would be $900,000 in America, green marbles, and $100,000 or 10% in blue marbles, which would be the house denominated in Canadian dollars up in Canada. Does that make sense? So what we can do is we can apply that thinking to investing in a particular stock. So let's just say it doesn't matter whether it's IBM, whether it's Apple, whether it's Verizon. All of these companies are headquartered in what we call denominated in dollars. They report their sales in dollars. They report their earnings in dollars. Everything about them is about green marbles and in dollars. Now let's forget about it for a second if they're an international company with business overseas. That's a little bit of a different conversation. But to understand this, we want to just stick with, if they're headquartered here, they're denominated in green marbles. So as we can see, we are overweighted. We are swimming in green marbles in this sandbox. So now, how do we start to diversify? Well, let's do the example again. So in this case, you have, let's say in our example, it doesn't matter if it's 100,000 or $1 million, but let's assume it's $1 million in investments. Okay, but they're all denominated mostly in dollars. So now, how do you diversify? Well, let's assume that you take a look up in Canada for a stock. Now that stock may be listed on a U.S. exchange. Now then let's assume, because Canada has a lot of oil and gas up in Canada, let's assume it's an oil and gas company. So now you invest in that oil and gas company. And let's do the same example. Let's say you put $100,000 or 10% of your investments in that particular stock. Well, what happens? Well, what you do is you take 10%. What happens is, of your $1 million in green marbles, now you're taking 10% of those, $100,000, and when you purchase that particular Canadian company, it doesn't matter what Canadian company it is, but in this particular case, we're saying it's an oil and gas company, and you're exchanging green marbles, 10% of them, and when you put it into that Canadian oil and gas company, it's now denominated in Canadian dollars. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's just assume this is $100,000, right? This is $1 million, this is $100,000. Now, your investments are $900,000 in U.S. stocks, one stock of $100,000 in a Canadian oil and gas company. But it's denominated in Canadian dollars. It's in blue. You see the difference? Now, why is that important? And what difference does it make if you have an oil and gas company in Canada, or if you have Exxon or another company denominated here in the United States? that's in green marbles? Well, right now the dollar has been appreciating, but what we believe at the Aiken Research Group is there could potentially be a major pivot in the economy and in the stocks that are performing well now compared to the stocks that are going to perform well later. For the last 30 years, if you think about interest rates falling, and there have been stocks that have been doing well because of that interest rate falling, we now believe that the last 30 years like this is the analogy of an economic golf course. That's the front 9 holes to that golf course, the last 30 years. Those stocks that have been doing particularly well. Well, we believe now we are going to be, the major shift and pivot is that there's going to be, the next 30 years is the next V. That V is going to be completely different than this V. That V, the stocks that are going to be performing well, are going to be completely different than the stocks that performed well over here. Now, those stocks in particular are the ones that are not in green marbles. You want to be diversified like this. You want to have some Canadian stocks, some Mexican stocks. You want to have some Chinese stocks that are all denominated in their own currency, and that it would make it look like this bowl, in addition to gold, which we'll get to in a second. So yes, so when you think about it, you can't change being owed green marbles in your Social Security, your pensions, your annuities, your military pension. And in so many respects, you can't even change your small business of receiving dollars, right? But what you can change is your investments. And so what you want to do is you want to offset these green marbles that you can't change with the ability, just like Alan Greenspan said, that when he received his lump sum, which you actually have a lump sum in your total investments. You're not owed these dollars. You currently have them. And like Alan Greenspan said, he would diversify those green marbles any way he wanted. But U.S. investors have become accustomed to thinking they're diversified in different companies, which they are, but the majority of those companies are in the U.S. in the same green marbles that all the other companies are in. That's the commonality. They're all denominated in dollars. Why is it a big deal? Or why is it a risk if your investments are all denominated in dollars? Or if you're owed dollars in your Social Security or pension? Now, here we'll take a timeout on the phone and we'll keep going. So we see why this is important, that it's all denominated in dollars, and you're being owed. See, what's even worse than this, because this, you have your dollars currently, even if they're all denominated in dollars in different companies. You can at least hedge inflation a little bit. The problem with these payments, well, it looks like that they're very persistent, huh? Okay, let's see if they do it again. Let's see if they do it again. So now, where do you have the ability then to diversify away from dollars? Well, you do to some extent if you invest in real estate outside the country. But more realistically, you have the ability to diversify your investments through a regular brokerage account, which allows you to buy stocks all over the world. So that's why we want to diversify this bowl more away from green marbles to counteract all of the green marbles you have in these jars and in these bowls. Now, why is this a problem again before the phone rang? And it's a problem because, well, one, we owe 19 trillion green marbles. See, isn't that a pretty good analogy? Do you really want to have green marbles where the government owes 19 trillion of them and it's not stopping, it's climbing? Do you want to have those green marbles? Don't you think that Uncle Sam wants to tax those green marbles away from you so that they can pay that 19 trillion? See, what's even better that Uncle Sam is able to do is that they don't want to tax you more, and they don't want to cut your Social Security payment, because then they are the ones to blame. See, the third choice, which is a better choice, is that they want to inflate your green marbles away from you, especially the ones that are owed to you. They want to inflate them away. Well, why do they want to? How do they inflate them away? Well, they inflate them away through inflation, by printing money, and by borrowing and spending. They need these green marbles to pay that 19 trillion. Don't you think you want different colored marbles? The ones that will become more valuable as they dilute the green ones. Or at least have the ability to be able to have these marbles denominated in different companies. So while we can't do anything about receiving some of these payments in green marbles, we can diversify these. Now, in this particular example, this oil and gas company actually pays a dividend. Now, this gets kind of interesting because let's assume that it pays, it doesn't matter what percent dividend, the higher the better. But what you're owed when this oil and gas company in Canada pays a dividend, you're owed dividends in Canadian dollars. See, you are owed dividends in the future coming to you, not in green marbles like your Social Security and pensions, but you're owed dividends in blue marbles. As Uncle Sam in the United States has to inflate away its debt by making the green marbles worth less, when that happens, by definition, the blue marbles go up. Your dividend rises. So if the dollar falls, let's do this. Here's the American dollar, here's the Canadian dollar. Now, recently, the dollar has strengthened. So it's happened in reverse. But in the future, we believe that it's going to go like this. So that when the dollar falls by 10%, your dividend denominated in Canadian marbles, Canadian dollars, goes up by 10%. You see, if you have a dividend paid to you from an American company in green marbles, if the dollar falls by 10%, you don't get a raise. You still get your green marbles. They're actually worth less. But in this case, when it's denominated in Canada, when it falls by 10%, if your dividend is going to go up 10%. The more the dollars fall, the more the American government inflates your dollars away, the higher your Canadian dividends and company. Actually, not only do your dividends go up by 10% if the dollar falls against the Canadian dollar, that your $100,000, the 100,000 green marbles that you put into an oil and gas company in Canada, whether that company grows or not, if the dollar falls by 10%, your investment actually goes to 110,000, and your dividend actually goes up by 10%. That is the hedge against the Congress, the American government, and the Federal Reserve. That's the hedge. And so when you have a portfolio, an inflation protection portfolio like this, that's denominated in all types of companies all over the world in different currencies, then your brokerage account that's denominated in dollars, as the dollar falls, this account rises. Like this. Now, how much of a percentage should you have in different colored marbles and currencies around the world compared to your green marbles? Well, that's an analysis that we do at the Aiken Research Group for individual clients, businesses, and institutions, as to just how much you should take from these green marbles to put in an inflation protection fund or to diversify around the world to hedge, basically. This is a personal hedge for Americans to hedge the amount of money that they're owed by Uncle Sam in the future. See, does that make sense now? I mean, this is sort of, it seems like it's a confusing thing for American investors, but hopefully this analogy with the green marbles and the different colored marbles associated with different countries helps. Now, obviously, gold is a direct hedge against the dollar. So if the dollar falls and inflation rises, gold's going to go up. Now, the reason there's a lot of controversy surrounding, let's say, gold and silver. The one thing to think about, and you can look this up online, there's a lot of uses for gold. And because gold is expensive, everybody wants to use an alternative source to gold. But if they find out that the product that they need gold for ends up being that they go to gold, well, they never go back because they've tried everything else. So the uses for gold normally don't go down. The uses for gold normally go up because of the properties of gold. Many uses for gold. In addition to many uses for gold, because of all of the central banks printing money that devalues currencies and increases the value of something substantial. You see, Uncle Sam can print or digitize money. That doesn't take any effort. But to get an ounce of gold out of the ground, it takes physical labor, it takes equipment, it takes electricity, it takes water. All of those ingredients to getting gold out of the ground actually have an intrinsic value to them. That the more that they print dollars, the more it's going to cost to get that gold out of the ground. So that gold is going to hedge whatever you're looking to buy. That's the reason to own gold. It has intrinsic value that paper does not. So I think for now, I hopefully have a better understanding as to what it means that how you are swimming in green marbles compared to your opinions of the Federal Reserve, Congress, and Uncle Sam. How you can diversify by owning foreign stocks being denominated in different currencies, in addition to how you're being owed dollars into the future with your fixed payments, right? And then being diversified as a percentage of your assets to protect yourself from the coming liabilities in America and the printing, the scapegoat that Uncle Sam likes to do to create inflation, to make the 19 trillion green marbles seem a little less. Well, I think that's all for now. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, let us know at the Aiken Research Group, and you can text us or call us or email us, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Well, until next time, see ya.